1450 WOL, Washington, D.C. 95.9 W240DJ, WMMJ HD3, WDCJ-FM HD3, and worldwide at WOLDCnews.com.
The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the host and guests and do not necessarily reflect the views of Urban One Incorporated, Radio One, or any of its subsidiary companies.
The following program is paid for by Barbara Arnwine.
The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the host and guests and do not necessarily reflect the views of Urban One Incorporated, Radio One, or any of its subsidiary companies.
The topics, views, and opinions expressed on the air and via All Igniting Change with Barbara Arnwine, platforms by host Barbara Arnwine Esquire, guests, and supporters are their own and are independent of any organization, entity. Nothing said on the show or any of its platforms constitutes a client-attorney relationship or serves as legal advice counsel. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to Igniting Change, its platforms, or the show's host. It's time now for Igniting Change, a weekly provocative and empowering program where you, listener, can ignite change. Now here's your host, Barbara Arnwine.
Get up, stand up.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to listening to good old Igniting Change. We want to say good morning to all our West Coast listeners. Thank you, Portland, for all of your tremendous resistance. We want to say a good shout out to all of those in the Midwest. Yes, we're watching. And we want to say a big shout of love to the Deep South and a big shout out to the Northeast. Hey, it is time, folks. It is time for Igniting Change. And we got a show for you today. First of all, I want to bring up my amazing co-host. He has been on the case, meeting with everybody possible, organizing for October 15th, argument at the Supreme Court, organizing for the rally that will be held outside that day. I am so happy to introduce one of our country's boldest, most amazing, brilliant lawyers, the chair of the board of the Transformative Justice Coalition, and my co-leader of the Transformative Justice Coalition, none other than Daryl D. Jones. Hey, Daryl. Daryl? Okay.
Hey, Barbara. Must be Tuesday, must be noon Eastern Standard Time, because it's talking about igniting change across the country. My goodness, Barbara, nothing could be igniting change more than the city of Chicago and the response that the mayor and the governor are having to the infestation, if you will, invasion of Chicago from this administration, and how they're responding and what's going on with the community. And the part that I love, Barbara, and that we'll get into, is how the elected officials are stepping up to the plate.
That's right. They're not playing. They are being loud and bold, and they are speaking for the people. And thank you to the people of Chicago for all of your amazing, fight back, and all of your amazing, just dealing with this intolerable, ugly situation. And we wanted to announce that our show today, the title for the show is President Trump's ICE forces terrorize. They terrorize Chicago's South Shore, fighting racial injustice and restoring constitutional order. How do we get there? What do we do about what's happening? We have some amazing guests on this show today. And I'm just going to check to see if we've been joined by Congressman Jonathan Jackson.
Here I am. Hello.
Yeah, all right now. Oh, we are so happy, Congressman, that you're here. Thank you. Foot Soldier Jackson. For
there you go. Look at you. For
all of your amazing work. people should know that you represent the people of Chicago in the United States Congress. You are a voice for action, a voice for change, and you have been all over this attempted occupation of Chicago by President Trump's forces. We have, all over the country, we've been looking at it, and our mouths have been dropping open in wonder and just disbelief as we watch the helicopters dropping troops, dropping forces, I should say, ICE people on roofs of an apartment building. They're rappelling down and crashing through windows. They're cutting down gates and rushing into barging down doors of apartments and dragging out U.S. citizens, right? U.S.
Oh,
citizens.
absolutely. And let me tell you, and so for some people to say this has nothing to do with and they don't want to stand by the migrant population and the foolishness behind that, we all look like migrants. We're all human beings. This is talking about dealing with civility and humanity in the face of bestiality and cruelty. These were U.S. citizens that were pulled out of that building. These were also U.S. citizens that had their door kicked in. These were U.S. citizens' children that had zip ties on them, and there's no follow-up. Who got arrested for what? What gang infiltration was he talking about? Chicagoans will not be confused, and we will not be scapegoated. Blacks and Venezuelans were living together there peacefully. Everybody was trying to come up. So we understand what the racial divisiveness is that this administration is doing. And one of the gentlemen, I tell you, Ms. Arnwine, and thank you, Brother Daryl, that really caught my attention. A guy came up to me 2 days later, and I saw him when I was standing out in front before I took a tour of the building, because the door was wide open and everything is boarded up, and the for-profit tiers came through there. And, after ICE comes in and they got private contractors and they got private board-up people and they got rental vans that they're buying, it's just it's a bonanza for private profiteers going in to make money. Wow. This gentleman says, he says, I'm a soldier, and he says, Mr. Jackson, I have PTSD. I got triggered the other night. I've not been able to talk for 2 days. Woo. He says, this reminded me of Desert Storm all over. It was the gas, it was the sand, it was everything. And now I can talk, and I just want you to know that you can't treat human beings like this. And this was a veteran. And so now, yesterday in our offices, we can't do casework for Veterans Affairs because of the government shutdown, as the government unlawfully has weaponized, and the Hatch Act says it's illegal to use government websites and property for political campaigning. They're saying the Democrats on government websites have the government shut down. He is trying to sow division and fear. He's trying to create this racial animosity. And I will tell you one other thing. Now, by bringing in these guardsmen, great guardsmen from Texas, and all the fear that he's putting into the community, he wants to get these people to come in here with long barrel guns to, as he's described us, as the enemy within our borders, U.S. citizens. Like, who is the enemy? So he's trying to create this sort of racial animosity. And these men are coming in with long barrel guns that are stoking fear. And now the children are traumatized. And I tell you, the long-term damage he's doing right now is he is sowing a distrust and fear amongst our public institutions. Young people will be less likely to call the police or the military. They don't know the difference between the police and the military. He's militarizing our streets. And the Posse Comitatus Act is very clear. You cannot put U.S. soldiers on American soil against its own citizens. The Republicans need to show some backbone, some spine, and some character.
Yes. And my Lord, last week where they were at Quantico, September 30th, the president said the following thing, everybody. I told Pete, meaning Pete Hegseth, the head of the Secretary of Defense, I told Pete, we should use some of these dangerous cities as training grounds for our military, National Guard, but military, because we're going into Chicago very soon. Daryl, what in the world? What in the world are we dealing with?
It's really an incredible situation that's going on. And you know, Congressman, there's some of our listeners that are listening to the show, and this is the first time they're really hearing someone that was on the ground in Chicago describing what happened. And if you're one of those folks that are wondering, well, this sounds like it's something that's just involving migrants and immigrants, what message would you give to them? What message do you have for them?
This community was 98% African American. This is in the heart of South Shore. It's directly across the street from a public school. It's a half a block away from the lakefront. 2 weeks ago, 800 people were hanging out at the lakefront on a beautiful afternoon. Yesterday was 88 degrees, 84 degrees in Chicago, and there were fewer than 8 people out on the lakefront in the same neighborhood. He has instilled fear within the neighborhood. I mean, and that's not something that you can take out of your head. The building is now abandoned. There are a few squatters that have moved in there because the doors are kicked in and boarded up. So the property is now coming off of the tax rolls. The property is coming off the tax rolls. One of the ladies that was, looked like she was very indigent. She had tears in her eyes. She says, the landlords are asking me for money. I just paid my rent. What am I supposed to do? And because you're ICE, there's no badges, there's no names, there's no numbers. You can't even say who assaulted you. They came in with military helicopters with ropes. I mean, this was a training exercise. They came up from the Great Lakes Naval Base up there in the northern part, closer to the Wisconsin border. I mean, and now he's talking about doing it in city after city. I want your listeners to know it was called Chicago today, but it's coming to a city near you. What happened here was over the line. I'm sorry, Daryl and Barbara, I've got to go into a funeral, but I want to say, please invite me back. I love you, and I'm so proud. And I'm going to see you next week on Wednesday. And
yes,
we have to keep our eye on the ball. That's the biggest story in the nation, and I thank you for it, and I love you for the work that
Yes. Yes. Oh, Congressman, thank you. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. Thank you for being on the show. Thank you. Now, see, that's our congressman. That's what we love. We love that he would walk out of a funeral to make sure that all our listeners, all of you throughout the United States, all of you throughout the world who are listening, he wanted to make sure that you heard from him what happened in Chicago, this assault on a predominantly black apartment building, a building of U.S. citizens, a building, even if it had just been of immigrants, it would have been wrong what they did, but it was U.S. citizens. They used the excuse that they were looking for people from a gang and said that they were using this technique, this horrible, offensive, devastating assault as a way of, quote, getting Tragada, gang members arrested. But, folks, let's get clear about this. They arrested 37 people. Of those 37 people, most of them black, that they arrested, only 2 had any gang affiliation with any gang. Guess what? None, 0 have been associated with the gang that they claimed they were trying to arrest them for. So I think, people, I watched, and you have watched the clip from you have watched the clip from a good old CNN where they actually had